not in the too distant past, I opened an email saying, hey, we would like for you to become our intentional interim. And then I read the information, and then at the bottom it said, the Society of Friends in this certain community. And I was going like, what? I'm a recovering Baptist in the United Church of Christ with some Anglican tendencies. No Quakerism in my life. And so I thought, well, okay, let's see, let it explore. So we began to explore together what that life might be like. And so they highly recommended that I read a book called Living the Quaker Way by Philip Gulley. And when I started reading this book, it was meaningful to me. It ended up that I did not go to that church to be their intentional interim, but I loved what the book said, and I thought, hey, this might be a great Lenten series. SPICE is the acronym that they use to explain what it means to be a Quaker. Now, let me warn you, I'm not here to make you Quakers, okay? Nor Shakers. Hopefully, I'm going to help you become more Christ-like. That's what I'm working out, okay? I've learned that you can beg, borrow, steal from all kinds of faith communities, and I think they enrich our lives. So hopefully this series can help you. So the acronym is this: simplicity, which is what we'll talk about today. Next week we'll talk about peace, integrity, community, and then equality. So let's look. I want to start with a quote. Simplicity is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. Simplicity is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. So what does it mean to be successful? You can respond. This is more of a conversation, and when I get really comfortable, I'll be down there talking to you. Still got to get used to everything. Don't want to freak you out too much. So, what does it mean to be successful?
Happy to accomplish your goals.
Accomplishing your goals, being happy, feeling fulfilled, serving others, creativity. Sounds like y'all were, yes?
If you live in the Wall Street world, it would be having a lot of money.
Ah, thank you very much. I was hoping I'd have a heathen amongst us. Those who die with the biggest toys, right? Yeah, that's what our world likes to say. We hear this constantly. I was spoiled growing up because our car dealer was also our dearest and best friend. And so Ernest would sometimes, even starting off, he would finance our cars for them. We just simply pay him. So we're getting started. When he finally called it quits, we had figured out we had bought 21 cars from him, my family of origin. And so he was a great guy, and so he'd financed my car, and I had sent him my last payment. In fact, I was home at the time, and I delivered it to him at his shop. Check him out, and he says, well, good, you're now paid off. Let's go out here and go look for a new car. I said, Ernest, no, I don't want to be in debt anymore. He just looked over at me and said, well, you're not very American, are you? That is sort of how we work. But, you know, the realization is that we need a new measure of success. For it is clear that further acquisition of goods is not only unattainable, but ultimately unsatisfying. See, simplicity is really true enrichment. You know, we make these judgments about how you are successful. In his book, he talks about a family with 3 boys, and I thought, I don't need his example. I have 3 nephews that can be the example. The eldest one has his PhD in physics from Georgia Tech. Yes. The youngest one majored in business and is doing well as he's getting his feet under his ground. But the middle child was really having a rough time. He does have a degree in physics, but he just really couldn't find his niche in life. And I would hear my sister and my mother lament over him. And I said, get off his back, get off his back. Leave him alone, he's got his time. All of a sudden, just about a year ago, he was offered to learn to become an electrician. He's the happiest boy in the mountains of North Georgia. He's happy that he is an electrician. And I'm going like, you know, we need some good, honest electricians out there in this world. That's a noble place. But so often we get this way that we have to be, the way that is success. Now, in other churches, I've had PowerPoint, and I have pictures and images, and so I have an image. Have you ever seen the crazy cat lady's starter box? Have you ever seen that picture? It's a box with about 6 cats in it. You know? See, why is it a person who accumulates pets considered mentally ill, while a person who accumulates money is seen as a role model? Ooh. Another truth about simplicity is it has beauty. I came in here on Thursday and sat here with my notes and everything and sort of can imagine what's going on in this space. And I stopped and I looked at our sanctuary space, and take a look yourselves. It's a very simple building, a very beautiful building. The simple brick walls, the clean lines in here. It's not a lot of ornamentation. Can't say that we're Rococo style, thank God. Or even Gothic or something, but in our simplicity, we have given beauty to this space. Well, the realization that simplicity really is a gradual experience. I thought about this when I thought about the whole word spice. One of my best friends from seminary married a Thai woman, Daruni. And when Daruni calls and says, I'm cooking, I drop everything. I love to go to her house, and I love for her to fix me food, and I love Thai food. And so as we're sitting down, she puts the platter down, then she'll look over at me and says, now this is your side, and this is our side. Because there's a spice difference. I like to keep my taste buds. But they love, oh my gosh, but the curry smell in that house. They love it, and it's so good, and I'm learning to gradually get it a little more. And I think that's what we have to do with simplicity. It is a gradual experience that we turn over and find a way to move, to define our simplicity for another, for our needs vary as does anybody else's. We can't say this is what is universal. This is for our own life and space. But to me, ultimately, simplicity boils down to this issue, the issue of wanting and needing. There are 2 ways to be rich. One is to make more. The other is to want less. So often our society says it's the ones who want more that are important. Working and struggling to figure out what we really need in our lives. Well, I found 4 hallmarks of what it means to have a simple life. The first one is about awareness. Just simply being aware. If you look at all the world religions, If you get it, start boiling it all down, it's all about awareness. In this wonderful winter, I walk in the garage of my condo unit. Can't go walking out in the neighborhood. There's not enough layers of fabric. So there I go walking, and sometimes I want to mix it up, and I do different patterns. And so I was walking this pattern, a new pattern. I was thinking of other things while I was doing it, and all of a sudden I realized I was walking the old path. And I thought, how true it is. Because I wasn't thinking about what way I was going. It was just that natural thing. So we have to be aware. The next hallmark is generosity. As we become aware of our goods, so often they become generous with that. I know watching older folks giving away their possessions, sometimes with great joy, as they know that the next generation will get to enjoy these dishes or pots or pans or pitchers or whatever you have. You realize that those possessions become burdens and you're ready to share them forth. Another hallmark is the whole idea of being patient and being persistent. Meeting somebody who is really of simplicity, you realize that they're just quiet and patient in their lives. The fourth hallmark is around the issue of focus. Concentrating on what is most important, we discover an abundance of what we know. Steve Jobs, one of the founders of Apple, wrote this, that being one of my mantras, focus and simplicity. Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean, to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end, because once you get there, you can move mountains. So, how do we move toward a simple life? Ultimately, I think it begins with learning silence and centering. There we get quiet with ourselves and really listen to God speak to us in our lives. We start figuring out what truly is important. See, simplicity really is about our whole being. This is the truth to truth wealth. Learning not only to live with less, but learning to want less. I don't know about you, but I've got some work to do. Figuring out how I can incorporate simplicity in my life. Listen again to the quote. Simplicity is about subtracting the obvious and adding the meaningful. Amen.